So I've got this app called Andy open. And I'm going to be playing what Andy says so that you can hear it. And Andy, Andy, and Andy. I'm going to be saying what I type to Andy. You have to type, it looks like. So you have 4 headings at the top: chat, exercise, grammar, and stats. Exercise, all premium. You have to, it looks like you have to unlock premium in order to get access to those lessons. 35 grammar lessons, unlimited vocabulary, 20,000 words, more than 20,000 words. And this is for 1 year, $29 for a year, and $6.99 for a month. So you can decide whether or not you think that's expensive. I don't know. Now, there are some lessons available, and we're going to look at that as well. But I want to chat with Andy first to see how real it is. We'll evaluate that part, and then we'll get into the grammar lessons. The grammar lessons. Okay? Now, the stats tell you how many words you've written, and they give you some other things like how often you've chatted with Andy, and so on. Okay, so let's try. I'm going to say to Andy, hi there. And Andy says Andy's typing, and he says...
Here.
Say again?
Yeah, I'm always here.
Yep, I'm always here. So yep is a very casual expression. But in this robot voice...
Yeah, I'm always here.
Yeah, I'm always here. Very robotic.
I'm always here.
Minus 10 points for robot voice. Like Siri, Google, Google Assistant. I don't know if you use Google Assistant. It's very natural, right? Compared to that, not even close. We'll look at Google Assistant too, I think. Now, how about we ask a question? A very basic question. Do you like pizza? Do you like pizza? Andy is typing.
I know very little about pizza. Can you tell me something?
I know very little about pizza. Can you tell me something? I'm sorry, but if you don't know about pizza, how can we have a conversation? I talk about pizza every 5 minutes in conversations, no matter what the topic is. I don't know, Andy. Well, let's see if I can educate Andy. It is a round food with cheese. It is a round food with cheese. Let's see what Andy says. Andy is typing. Oh my God. Andy says,
nice. We have this in common.
Nice. We have this in common. What do we have in common, Andy? That pizza is round? It's not that we have that in common, Andy. It's that pizza is that. What does that have to do with we? Now, he says, do you like chatting with me?
Do you like chatting with me?
What if I say, no, I find you quite boring? This is what I'm writing here. No, I find you quite boring. Andy says, why? What should I do better? Your replies aren't realistic. Okay, your replies aren't realistic. Let's see what he says about that. Let's see what old Mr. Andy says about that. Okay, I'll ask my programmer to...
Okay, I'll ask my programmer to improve me.
All right, well, that's actually not bad. I'll ask my programmer to improve me. At least Andy is taking feedback. Let me ask another question. Andy, can you tell me about your day? So I want to know what Andy did today. Andy, can you tell me about your day? Very standard, very normal question. If Andy can't answer this. I love reading. Something special happens when author spends months or years of his life writing a book. What?
I love reading. Something special happens when author spends months or years of his life writing a book.
What? I love reading. Something special happens when author spends months or years of his life. So first it's saying authors are men. Then when author, instead of when an author, right? One of an author, spends, an author. So actually, Andy, the English teacher bot, is giving me incorrect grammar. Minus 10 points. Come on, Andy. That's ridiculous. I'm going to say, Andy, I don't care. I'm a little negative. I'm a negative person. I can't help it. Andy, I don't care. Andy says, got it. Why do you want to learn English? Okay, well, that's a good question. Now, I think I can choose one of the grammar lessons. So let's try one of these. I'm going to go over to grammar. I'm going to choose the much and many and start that. And it says much, many lesson, please. Andy says, sure. Okay, the rule is very simple. You should use many with countable nouns, many cats. That's correct. And much with uncountable nouns, much water. You can't count water, but you can count cats. 1 cat, 2 cats, 3 cats, etc. Do you understand? All right, guys. There's an issue here. We don't say much water. Andy is wrong. The English teacher app, chatbot, is wrong. Nobody says much water by itself. That's misleading. Now, you could put it in a phrase. You could say, how much water? Right? Or I don't need much water. If it's in a phrase, yes, that's okay. But this is kind of suggesting to me that you can just say much water. Now, you could say a lot of water by itself. If you say a lot of water, tons of water, by itself, fine, correct. By itself, much water is not right. We don't say much water by itself. It has to be combined with things like too much water, so much water, how much water, not much water. It's always combined with something else. It's never alone. So I find this misleading, and I'm confused, and I'm disappointed. Minus 10 points. So even an English lesson that's been prepared and written is not correct. Come on, Andy. I'm just going to say that I understand and see what he says next, but I'm severely disappointed. Sorry, guys. How blank eggs did the hen lay? How many eggs? That's a very easy one. Perfect, says.
Perfect.
Perfect. Perfect. How do robots speak? Perfect. Jane hasn't got many or much time. Time is uncountable. Much time. Much. Answer is much.
Super.
Super. Super. How plates do we need? How many plates do we need? Correct.
Correct.
All right, I'm getting bored. This is very easy. It's just sort of fill in the blank things. If you're learning English, it might be better to do a more robust learning platform like Duolingo. Duolingo has modules that you go through to learn English from your language. It's customized in your language. I have nothing to do with Duolingo, but it is a very good language learning app if you want to learn in the sort of robot way with a chat partner, a chat bot partner, and modules that you go through, fill in the blanks, quizzes, little games. Duolingo is very good at this, and everything in there is correct. Right? They're very, very good. This seems to have some mistakes, seems to be a little bit off. The robot voice is not very realistic. The conversation doesn't flow very well. Some of the things sound okay, some of the replies, but some of them are very awkward and strange. I have to give this, if I'm reviewing it, a pretty low score. I honestly don't recommend using it. I don't think it's very realistic. And you can just get those grammar lessons anywhere, right? For free. You don't have to pay for them. So, sorry, Andy. Not so good. Now, what about a realistic chatbot? I've said this before, but if you want a realistic chatbot, just use Google Assistant. Google Assistant is actually an extremely realistic chatbot. Let's just listen to the difference. You heard that robotic voice. All right, here we go. Hey, Google, could you please give me the weather report for today?
It'll be partly cloudy there today, with a forecasted high of 80 and a low of 66.
That sounds
Currently
like
it's 79 degrees and mostly sunny.
Should I wear a coat when I go out today?
No, today is not predicted to be cold. Expect a high of 80 and a low of 66.
Can you give me some good ideas about fun stuff to do in Manhattan today?
Here's a summary from Tour Scanner. 34 fun things to do in NYC, cool and unusual activities. 1.
Okay.
Try indoor skydiving at IFLY Westchester. 2. Balance your mind and body at Air Ancient Baths. 3. Spend an afternoon at Modern Pinball NYC. And more.
Got it. If your goal is to practice spoken English and you're hoping to do that with a bot of some kind, then you're much better off using Siri, although Siri is not that great right now, or Google Assistant, and maybe Alexa from Amazon, although I haven't used it much, but Google Assistant is very good. She can answer many questions. She can give you information about almost anything that you can imagine and pull that information from the internet. Her voice sounds very natural. You can reply with voice. So I don't quite see the purpose of something like Andy. Now, you could say, okay, what about the lessons? Well, I think there was something misleading about the lessons. The lesson said that you can use much in front of an uncountable noun. While that's true, it didn't mention that it has to be combined with something else, and we don't just use much by itself in front of, for example, water. Much water. So even the lesson is misleading, and there was a mistake, a grammatical mistake, in one of the replies in the chat conversation. For an English learning app, I don't want that, right? I want to know that everything that I learn is realistic and correct, because otherwise, why would I use it? Now, what about the modules, the little lessons that you can get? Well, you can use something like Duolingo, which for a lot of it is free, and those are very professionally done lessons. Or you can find all kinds of free resources on the internet to learn those little bits of grammar, right? Those little sort of fill-in-the-blank questions that can give you an idea about how to use things like much or many. Or you can watch videos, YouTube videos. So I can't recommend Andy. Chatbot, Google Assistant. It's good. It's the best in the world. It's run by Google. They have the most data. They have the most technology. English learning? Find a place where you can get that sort of little stuff, those bits and pieces of information for free. That's my advice. Avoid it. I got to give it a big thumbs down. Sorry, Andy. All right, guys. Well, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can see future videos, and also check out my full English courses in the links in the description.